Digby's Diary by E.D. Bird 1. I live in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, a small landlocked country in southern Africa. I've never had the opportunity to travel abroad and therefore have no personal experience of either England or France. I wonder if there are any other countries I don't know about. I understand that the weather patterns and landscapes of those two countries are vastly different from our own. I believe that during the long winter months in those faraway lands, snow falls to the ground in great quantities, and it rains all year round, creating wonderful green scenery. Here in Zimbabwe, we receive no snow, and our winter months are short, dry, and mild by comparison. The summers are very hot and long, with only a few months of rainy weather. During the long, dry months of the year, the bush areas are mostly brown, but when the rain arrives, the countryside bursts into life with wonderful colors, and it is indeed a sight to behold. I am a four-pawed animal of French descent, with curly black fur. However, as time waits for no dog, there are sprinklings of silver to be found in my well-groomed coat. I am fortunate to have a very kind English-speaking mistress, to whom I shall refer from this point on as Mother. Here I must point out the variations between my mistress and me, as well as the rest of my species. Although Mother has 4 paws, she walks upon only 2, and those differ dramatically from my own. Her other 2 paws each have extended digits with which she is able to perform amazing tasks. Consequently, for the sake of ease, I shall refer to all of her kind as 2 paws. I remember my 4-pawed mother as well, and miss her terribly even to this day, but my foster has proved to be most satisfactory and has taught me well in my command of the English language to such an extent that I have totally lost my French accent. My natural 4-pawed mother was very aristocratic, though I have no recollection of my birth father. I come from a litter of 5, myself being the firstborn. I remember playing with my sibling puppies in our basket, tumbling around and growling constantly in an effort to make us sound fearsome. My furry mother was always so loving and gentle, creating a perfect home for our happy family. She spent numerous hours cleaning and suckling us. It was done with such affection that the memory of it brings tears to my eyes and a lump to my throat. Then one day, when I was old enough to understand the true meaning of life, which is that family is all important, I was taken away from my cuddly siblings and adoring 4-pawed mother. I recall how she muzzled all of us very close to her, and I misinterpreted the moisture in her large black eyes. When she tried to explain to us in a broken speech that we were going away, I thought it would be for only a short period. We were all so happy where we were, with each other as companions, so why should we be separated from our beloved mother? The distress I suffered was monstrous, and I cried for many weeks, asking continuously to be returned to my birthplace, but I never saw any of my natural family again. The new family who took me in was large indeed, for there were many other 4-pawed animals of varied descriptions. None of them liked me very much either, which caused further anguish, and they bullied me awfully. However, as I grew, and they realized that I would one day be larger than most of them, they began to accept me, until finally I reached my rightful place at the head of the family, diminished in numbers though it may have been at that stage. Mother has always been quite dogmatic about my appearance, and insists upon having my fur primped regularly. I actually quite enjoy being creamed, although I would much prefer not to have them douse me in that cold water first. Personally, I think that Mother enjoys it so. She herself fashions her own fur in much the same style. I notice that 2-paws do not have fur all over their bodies as I do, but only on their heads. That does not seem to apply to the males of that breed, for I have observed that my 2-pawed master and his young pups carry considerable more fur elsewhere upon their physical structures than do the females. It is very sad to note that the 2-pawed pups appear to have left home in much the same manner as I was forced to do when I was just a pup myself. I really do miss them. The eldest is so tall, I have come to think of him as my gentle giant. and the younger one is a constant tease. He seems to derive great enjoyment if I place my forepaws on his shoulders and growl ferociously at him. Needless to say, I would cause him no harm, for I have grown to love my entire two-pawed family dearly. I am not certain if my natural mother was responsible for having my tail chopped off, but I do not recall any pain anyway. Such a long time ago, and now it is covered with a perfect pom-pom of fur, which looks decidedly appealing. I am definitely able to wag faster than any of the other dogs with longer tails, almost creating a blur of fur, much to the delight of all two-paws. Whenever one or more two-paws arrive to visit Mother, I always give them a warm welcome. My two-pawed master, whom I shall call Father because he is so kind to me, appears to take offense to this, and I know not why, but I continue in the hope that he will one day understand. After all, barking is the only way I can be vocal to the two-paws, and licking is the dog form of kissing. We all live happily together in a rather large home built on an elevated rocky outcrop, and the numerous stairs provide wonderful exercise. Mother and Father made the home even larger by adding a room that is used far more than any other. The furnishings in this room consist of a long counter with tall chairs around it, and there are occasions when many two-paws visit and behave in the strangest of fashions. They all appear to suffer the same affliction of unquenchable thirst, and proceed to pour copious quantities of liquid down their throats. For reasons unbeknownst to any four-pawed creature I have spoken to, this causes them to behave most unusually indeed. At the end of these sessions, some are quite unable to put one paw in front of the other, so it is just as well that they have only two upon which to walk. This particular room is very special to me too, as it houses something that holds my interest for many hours at a stretch. It is built of the same material as is used in windows and some doors, which one can see through but cannot walk through. One day, as I was entering the room with Mother and Father, there was a great splash from inside this transparent box, which attracted my attention. When I glanced up, I noticed a strange creature moving gracefully across the width of the structure. I was absolutely spellbound, and have been ever since. I am determined to get that creature out of there one day, although I am not too sure what I will do with it when I have succeeded, but I am sure I shall continue trying.